What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Chris here from Kalevala South Farm. Well, guys, it's been a little bit since I made a video, but we've been super busy. I did do a short. We have right now, we got all of the trees that we have ready to go right now tapped. So we've got about 170 taps done and we're tapped out. Sap hasn't run much yet. It's actually running just a little bit today. I saw it dripping. I did put a couple buckets out just to kind of watch and see when it runs. It is running a little bit, but not much. It's only about 35 degrees, so it's not quite warm enough, but it's supposed to get up into the 40s later this week. So that's why I wanted to get everything ready, because I think we're going to get an early run. I know some other places are running, and there's some producers that have already boiled. So anyway, guys, so we're making good progress. The last 100 taps that we have left to do, we're still working on those. I had run the main line, got that mostly done. I got some of the laterals put in, but I haven't quite finished it yet. Hopefully by the end of the week, I'll have that done. We'll get that tapped out, and we'll have about 250 to 300 taps for this year. So anyway, guys, I did get the off-grid vacuum system set up. So I'm going to take you guys down and show you that. I did the first one already, got it going, made sure everything worked, and I'll take you through how I built that, what I used for components, where I found the instructions, and everything else. So anyway, guys, stay tuned. We'll head down and take a look at the vacuum setup. All right, guys, so we're down here in our southernmost sugar bush. We have our main line here that runs up through the woods. It's just a little over 500 feet of main line, 3/4 inch main line, and it has about 100 taps, 5/16 taps running off of it. We have our solar panel here. We have our pump unit and our battery under the cover here. And then, of course, I have a 150-gallon stock tank here for the sap. It's not really running today. It's a little too cold, and actually it's a little too cold for the unit to kick on. I've got it set at 33 degrees, and it's just about 34 right now. So, and with that temperature controller, it's just a touch off, so it's not going to fire up right now. But this is what the unit looks like. We have our pump, solar power controller to control the charging of the battery and the solar, relay, temperature controller, and an on-off switch. And it does work pretty good. I ran it about 3 hours yesterday. I did not build any vacuum, so I definitely have a leak somewhere. So I'm gonna have to go back through and check, make sure I didn't leave something disconnected, because I definitely have a leak somewhere. I ran it for about 3 hours and I didn't build any vacuum at all. So I'm guessing I have a small leak somewhere. The pump generates plenty of vacuum. It's just, I'm losing it somewhere in the line. So once it's not, it's kind of misting and yucky right now. But once the weather gets a little nicer, we'll walk back through all the lines and find where our leak is, get that fixed, and we should build some vacuum. Now this unit is not going to build a lot of vacuum. It's not really a true vacuum pump. It's basically a diaphragm RV pump, but they do work to pull vacuum. And really any vacuum is better than no vacuum with maple sap. So I'm hoping if I can get, 10 inches of vacuum or so, that's going to really help our sap production. So anyway, guys, so what I figured we'd do, I wanted to show you this. We'll head back up to the barn, and I'll actually show you how I wired it all together. I wanted to do this one first, obviously, to make sure everything worked. I did find the directions for this online. It's an Instructable online. If you search SureFlow off-grid maple syrup, I believe it'll pop up. But I figured I'll head back. I'll show you. I have the components bolted down to a board, and I'll do all the wiring, kind of show you guys how I wired everything and explain, some of the components. Everything came pretty much from either Amazon or our local hardware store. We got a lot of the pipe fittings and stuff at our local hardware store. So anyway, guys, we'll head back up and build one of these. Alright guys, so here we are in the shop. Got the heat running. The little electric heater that I leave on is running, and then we actually turned on the kerosene heater for a little bit just to bring up the temperature in here. But here is the unit. Basically the components. We have our pump, which like I said is a SureFlow 4008. This is a 3 gallon a minute pump, which is actually probably a little small. I probably should have gone to the next size up, the 4048. But these are what we got, so this is what we're going to use. We have our terminal strip, switch box for the on-off switch. We're going to do that first. We got to drill a hole in the cover here and put our switch in. We have a relay, we have our solar power controller, and we have our temperature controller. So what I'm going to do is basically I'll kind of explain step by step as I do this, you know, what we're wiring what to, and I'll link in the description, I'll link the website where I got the instructions for this off of, so you guys have that as well. So I'm going to drill the hole in this first, and then we'll start. All right guys, so we got the switch hole drilled. I would have misplaced a small nut for this, but we'll find it in a minute. We do have to secure our box down, so we'll get this screwed down, and we'll start getting all the wiring going. I'll get all that cut, and we'll get going. So let me get all that wire cut, and then I'll show you how I actually wire it. Alright guys, so we've got our switch installed here, and I started to wire this in. So here's our switch, here, our on-off switch. This wires through a fuse holder to our positive side. You can see I've labeled the positive and negative sides of the bus here. So we're going to make this connection. We'll tighten this, and then that is our main power to the relay. So let me get that going, and I will explain all the steps that I do as I go. Alright, so we're just using regular butt connectors for these connections. These are actually the kind that they have heat shrink on them. I'm not going to bother heat shrinking these because they're inside the box. Let me get this connected up to the switch. So for all of the main power wires running to the switch and to the relay and to the controller, I'm actually using 10 gauge wire, and then the timer stuff, the timer circuit, uses 12 gauge wire. I may actually have to go buy some more of the 10 gauge black wires, the negative wire, because I don't think I'm gonna have enough. All right, so that's all set. So I'll pop my switch box on. Screws here, and then the switch box is all done. We'll make our connection to the bus bar. Okay, so that's set. All right, so the next connection we're going to make is we will attach our fuse to our bus bar. Just kind of tuck it in best I can over here. Again, I just used a ring terminal on this to connect it. And this fuse holder has a 15 amp fuse. It's also a 15 amp switch. 15 amp fuse, then so basically goes from the bus bar through the switch to the relay. So the next connection I'm going to do is I will connect the positive and negative load side of our solar power controller. So I need basically a negative and positive that are going to go to this, and then I'll put ring terminals on the ends of them here. And I did buy some more ring terminals the other day because I was getting a little low. Okay, so there's the positive. positive, and then I try to just leave a good loop of wire, not too much. And then snip that. And we will strip that back. And this gets connected to the load on our solar power controller. Alright, so there's the load, and then we will do the ground, the negative wire, next. Just like we did this one. Let's see if I can get you guys in a little better position to see this. Hopefully you can see that a little bit better, guys, what I'm working on here. Hopefully, anyway. So, get our negative wire all set and connected to our load. Alright, so there is the solar power load side connected to power our bus bar. Okay. That's set. So the next thing we'll do, we will hook up the motor. As you can see on this relay, I have one wire clipped. The yellow wire is not used on this relay. The black wire, we're going to go right to ground with that. And then we will wire, the blue wire goes to the hot wire on the pump, and then we can wire the pump negative wire to the negative side. So we'll do that next. But we will need a little bit of an extension on this. Again, we're going to use our heavier wire, which I do believe I will have to get some more black wire. So I don't think I'm going to have quite enough to do the solar panel and the battery. Again, for these, we're just going to use a regular old butt connector. There's that, and our blue wire is what goes to the motor. So then what I usually just try to route this around nicely where we can put some ties on it later. Give myself some slack, but not too much. Okay, there we go, got it that time. Could almost, this blue wire almost would reach. It's very close. And honestly, if I kind of mounted that in a little bit different spot, it would have probably been fine, but I kind of like it the way it tucks in. It saves me a little bit of wire in some other areas doing it this way. So that's why we did it like we did it. Okay. All right, so there's our motor now connected to our pump. And I will put some wire holders I have right here. And we'll put some of these on a little bit later. So now we're going to connect our negative line from our pump and our negative line from our relay to our bus bar. Alright, so these we can actually use a slightly smaller connection. Alright, so we'll get these connected. Alright, so there's our relay. We'll get that connected to our negative wire here. Alright, and then we will do the same thing on our pump. We're going to just put another ring terminal on our pump, negative, and that's going to go to there. Alright. This. Alright, so our power controller, we have our neutrals run from the pump in here. So the next thing we have to do is our temperature. So this temperature switch basically will turn this unit on and off as the weather gets warmer or colder. So if it gets too cold and the sap's not going to run, it shuts off. And if it's warmer, it'll turn the unit on. So basically what we're going to do, I'm going to set up, I have this small piece of wood cut. I'm going to set up with a couple zip ties to kind of hold this. This is more made to like slide into a cabinet or mount. So let me grab a couple zip ties and some screws and we'll get that done. Doesn't have to be real tight. Alright, that should be good. So we'll get this zip tied down now. And then we can start the wiring on the temperature relay. Or the temperature controller, I should say. Alright, so there it is. So we have our one wire that actually is our probe, so we'll set that aside. That's already pre-wired. So now we're going to run power. Is going to come, we'll run a positive and negative from our bus bar to our power. Then we're going to run another line from our positive side of our bus bar to our switch. And our switch will then go, the relay will be on one side and the power on the other. So that it'll be powered and then it'll have the ability through the relay to turn the pump on and off. So, and we're using 12 gauge for this instead of 10. So we can use our little bit smaller connections here. We will strip a positive. Actually going to need two positives and one negative for this. right, so now we'll run this over and through. Alright, so there's our power wire connected, and we'll run the net. Whoop, I guess it wasn't connected. Didn't quite have it in the connection. Thought I did, but I guess not. Well, that should be enough. There we go. So there's our power to the power, and we will run our ground wire for that. All right, so there's those two connections all made. So the next thing we're going to do, we will connect the white wire from the relay to the switch side of the temperature controller. Okay, so there's that, and then we'll run a power wire from the positive to the other side of the switch. And that should about do it, other than the battery and the solar panel wiring, and those just connect to our solar power controller. All right, guys, unfortunately, the threads in the back of this connection are damaged. So I'm gonna have to order a new temperature controller. Luckily, these things are not very expensive. I want to say it was only like $8 or $10. So I'll get another one of those coming, but I think you pretty much get the idea of what we're doing. So that was the last part to hook up, was just to the controller, and it's basically ready to go. On this solar power charger, you see there's a solar panel and there's a battery. So we would hook up the battery here and the solar panel here, and we'd be ready to go. So anyway, guys, that's kind of what we're using for our solar-powered off-grid vacuum system for this year anyway. Hopefully next year too, if it works. So anyway, guys, just thought I'd like to show you, and I think I'm gonna end the video here. And like I like to say, if you like these videos, please subscribe, hit the like button, and leave us a comment. Tell us what you think. Just remember, it'll be all right.